Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the Spectrum Bay News 9 and the Tampa Bay Times first St. Petersburg Mayoral Debate of 2021.
Now on to opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to introduce themselves. We will go in alphabetical order, and there will be no closing remarks. Mr. Boland, on to you. 30 seconds.
Hi, my name is Pete Boland, and I am not a politician. I'm running for mayor because I don't like politics. And as a business owner, I've dealt with all the challenges that government can bring to us. I've even taken on the Kreisman administration in court and defeated them. I've got the executive experience, the moderate mindset, and the common sense approach to solving problems and to get things done for St. Petersburg. I love this city very much and want to push St. Pete first. Join us at PeteForSt.Pete.com and learn more about our campaign. We have tons of excited supporters, and we can't wait to have you on our team.
Thank you for that, Mr. Boland. Thank you to all of our candidates. Welcome to this debate. Let's get things started now with our first question, and this is about the future of the Tampa Bay Rays. And each one of you will have 1 minute to answer this first question, and here it is. Can St. Petersburg sustain a Major League Baseball team, and how would you work as mayor with the Rays? And Mr. Boland, you will start us off on that question, and you have 1 minute, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for asking me the question. It's something that's near and dear to my heart as a former season ticket holder for the Rays, current season ticket holder for the Rowdies, current season ticket holder for the Buccaneers, and a passionate Tampa Bay Lightning fan. This issue is very important to me. It's a quality of life issue. It's a pride issue. The Tampa Bay Rays are iconic with St. Petersburg, and they were the original catalyst for the downtown renaissance. I think it's crucially important to do what we can to save pro sports here in Pinellas County. We went through a lot of pain and suffering between the destruction of the gas plant district through eminent domain, removing that neighborhood 30 plus years ago, to sitting with a dormant stadium without a team. And, you know, I'm someone who grew up in St. Pete, remembers the Blockbuster Video boycott back then. My approach is going to be putting St. Pete first, protecting the taxpayers. I think we can build a first of the next generation of stadium. I think that we need to take a look at the Montreal plan as it stands and just really call their bluff. I think St. Pete can definitely sustain a baseball team. It just needs to be the first of the next generation of baseball stadiums.
You will each have 30 seconds to respond to this follow-up question, also about the Rays. Would you approve of using taxpayer dollars or public land, like the Trop site, to build a ballpark for the Rays if they split their season with another city like Montreal?
Yes, well, we already have the land. We have the Alang site. We have the Tropicana Field site. That's definitely our big bargaining chip. I think I'm starting to come around to the idea of Montreal, but we'd have to have some real concessions from the Rays. I'd want to make sure that we had spring training there. All those spring training games should be in St. Pete, just as we were the birthplace of spring training baseball. It needs to be no new taxes, and we have the land to do the bargaining chip. And I asked my fellow career politicians up here on this dais, where have they been the last 14 years? This is an issue that's tired in St. Pete. It has to get done. Let's have a small business approach and work with the Rays to get things done now, this time.
All right, Mr. Boland, thank you for that. We're going to move on now to our third and final question on this topic of the Rays and Tropicana Field. And again, you will have 30 seconds for each of these responses. And the question is, would you be compelled to stick with the two finalists for Trop redevelopment selected by Mayor Kreisman, or could this entire process start over from scratch?
I think we definitely need to have the Rays a seat at the table. I think this would be one of those things we all kind of agree about, that we shouldn't go forward and let this lame duck mayor make the final decision about something that's going to affect us for generations to come. I think it needs to be split up into some different parcels where we have specialization. I think Al Lang needs to be a big part of the discussion too, about whether or not the Rays want to be there. That's where they wanted to be 14 years ago. So I'd like to kind of start over the process, but I think there has been some good work done out of that, and we could take some of those lessons we learned from this and move forward for a permanent solution.
Let's continue now with our next question. 18-year-old Tyron Lewis was killed 25 years ago this fall by a St. Petersburg police officer. Last year, protesters filled St. Petersburg streets for weeks, raising concerns about current policing in the city. Do you believe systemic racism is a problem in St. Petersburg's police department? Why or why not?
As someone who grew up in St. Pete and who lived through the 1996 Tyron Lewis civil disobedience, this is something that I've been paying very close attention to, and I've been a part of my life for a very long time. I think systemic racism exists in America in a lot of institutions, but I do not think it is a pervasive problem in St. Pete Police. I think we've come a long way under Chief Holloway, and we've improved a lot. from those times in that era. And we've been fortunate enough to not have any incidents since then, since 1996. But I want to say, like, for one of the things that's part of systemic racism is the failed war on drugs. We keep locking up black and brown people over things like marijuana. It doesn't make sense. If we're going to really move forward with this issue, we've got to end the failed war on drugs, and we've got to strive and challenge. We have a great police department here in St. Petersburg. I've been able to get acquainted and know a lot of them over the years. They're working downtown. And I just think I want to challenge them to be the best police force in America. I want St. Pete to be synonymous with best police in the United States. And I think we can do that if we challenge our already great police force.
Thank you, Mr. Boland.
We'll move on to our next question now, and each of you will have 30 seconds to respond to this question. And here it is. St. Petersburg has recently experienced an alarming number of shooting deaths. What do you attribute this violence to, and how would you address it as mayor? 30 seconds to you, Mr. Boland.
I think some of it is a consequence of the lockdowns and obviously the economic despair, the achievement gap with South St. Pete. The literacy rate is down in South St. Pete. I think we have an issue too with financial literacy and a lot of hope, but it goes back to things like the war on drugs. Gun violence and drug trade tend to go well together. We need to kind of move on from some of this stuff, and expecting politics as usual to create progress on this, it's just not going to happen. We need to address the real problems and move forward with new ideas.
And before we jump into our lightning round, we have to ask about the major topic of the year, coronavirus.
Yes, we do. We're going to start this segment off this way. Each of you will have 30 seconds to respond to this question. Is there anything you would have done differently as mayor during the pandemic? On to Mr. Boland. Sir, I know you've spoken about this publicly, but 30 seconds now to address if you would have done anything differently during the pandemic. Go ahead.
I'm going to need a lot more time than 30 seconds, I'll tell you that much. But one of the big things we totally missed the boat on in every corner of our country was promoting immune system health, how to bolster your own immune system. The idea of evading corona for the rest of your life was not practical. We needed to have a public health movement, and we failed our people by not telling them how they could better equip their own bodies to encounter this microbe. We did things like add air purification system that's proven by science to work. We didn't participate in the mass theater. Individual responsibility needed to rule the day. I'd love to talk about this some more. Bring it on.
Now it's time for our lightning round. For the rest of the questions, you will have just 15 seconds to respond each, and we'll see how many we can get through. First question, should the city privatize its marina?
No, I don't think we should privatize the marina. The marina is very near and dear to me as someone who worked at Corrigan's Irish Pub. That whole community is fed by places like Corrigan's Irish Pub. I think the city is very capable of managing it itself and bringing in a management company instead of a for-profit company from Tennessee that deals with fresh water, not salt water.
To our next question here in the lightning round, again, 15 seconds. Is there a project that you would invest in during your first term to protect St. Petersburg against climate change? And in 15 seconds, be as specific as possible on what you would do to protect the city against climate change.
As someone who grew up in Shore Acres and whose home was flooded in November from Tropical Storm Eta, I know this is a very important thing. We need to do the best we can to recruit the best grant writing teams to help elevate and lift our vulnerable neighborhoods up. And I'd like to carry on the tradition of Mayor David Fisher. I'd like to plant tons and tons and tons of trees all over our city.
And we will have to leave it at that. We want to thank all of our candidates. We are out of time. Thank you so much for participating in our debate. We want to wish you all the best of luck.
For everyone at home, thank you for watching. We still have a ways to go to Election Day, which is on Tuesday, August 24th. If no candidate receives 50% of the vote, then the top two candidates will advance to a runoff election in November.
And we'll have complete coverage of that. Again, thanks to our candidates. Pleasure hosting with you.
Thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching the 2021 St. Pete Mayoral Debate.